Hello, folks. So in this video, I wanted to talk about how software is made and how lot of information is lost while software is being made. Let me give you an example. So when people create software in the current era, they use this thing called version control systems, short for VCS. So version control systems, an example would be Git. I think companies like Google also use different version control systems. I think it's called I forgot Jarrett or something. I don't know. So yeah, I mean people track code and the versions of a software using Git, but that just tracks code. And in the like for example, if you're using Git in Git commits, you actually realize that you actually realize what is the what is the change in the software, and if the person who has committed the code using git commit, if they've written enough description and information on the git commit using the git commit message, then you know why that change was made, how that change was made. But usually people don't put enough information in the git commits. Also, there's a lot of information that goes around, for example, through discussions and conversations and research for software. So, usually these are captured in documents separately and away from the code. As long as enough information is captured in these, great. But if it's not, then what do people do? In my case, for example, a few years ago, I started having this idea of writing down more and more information in the Git repo itself, either in the same repository, either in the same place where the code is being written, or in a separate place. But it is also version controlled, maybe. But there is information, more and more information about what research went into building the code, what thought process went into building the code. Basically, as much information as possible while building the software, right? So I called this. So usually in software, they have this popular idea of having this file called readme.md or info.md, which will have information about what the software is, how to run it, and stuff like that. I started having ideas of like just putting the project planning also here. For example, writing down what is the to do in a to-do.md, and then writing down a story within that itself with a story.md. And then if I want features, future features, current features, and everything in a features.md, right? So you can see actually this story.md has a lot of information. You can see actually this just keeps going down. um, it has logs, it has the different websites that I referred to and things, the thought process that went into actually creating this, and then some photos, right? So it's a lot of stuff. Interestingly, these pictures are actually in the images itself inside this place. So, for example, it's here actually. Um, so, if you open this, you will notice that this is one of the images, and the other image. This is not uploaded into a GitHub URL which is not accessible with a direct link, as a normal link, or it's part of the repository in this case. But sometimes you can just upload and to GitHub through say issues or whatever, or pull requests while typing in a comment, and then use that link also or whatever. But usually, in my case, this is what I did. I put in a lot of story into what went into creating this software. For example, in this case, it's a recorder which records a text editor. So, um, looks like I didn't start writing it when I started the project, but yeah. So you can either use video form or text form or something, some form. So in this case, it's a form of text form. So you can take audio form, video form, or a mix of these, and try to write information about the project and the software, so that there is more and more information about how things got into the picture, how things got into creating, how things got into place, how did you create this software and all. So it's better to actually have this so that you can actually say it's been 4 years since I actually worked on this project now, right? I worked on this project in 2021, right? You can actually see some of the comments from 2021, March 8, 2021. So I worked on this project long, long ago, and now, I mean, I think the last I worked on, if you look at the README, was March 7th or around April, because recorder.html is available still here. So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy that you know 4 years have been up, and I just feel like it was done just a few years ago, just like probably recently or something. But you can see it started off like in 2020, and then I did more features later, I think. Um, so, well, with this project, it's been so many years now, 4 years. How will I recall whatever I did, what is pending, and whatnot? And how did I go about building this? So, interestingly, I've created demos. Okay, so I've created demos, demo one, demo two, and all. And I've written down issues, I've captured the issues, the data about the issues. This is an interesting thing that I like to do. Apart from story.md capturing issues, I forgot about this. I wasn't actually going to talk about this, and then I just realized this. So capturing details about the issue, and then for example, they are. I mean, we are actually giving information over here. The recording file. I actually put this recording file over here, as you can see, and you know, it's like just giving information about how to reproduce the issue, what is the issue, what happened, and all right. And then there are some scripts for debugging that I've written, to understand what has happened and all right. So when you put more and more information into your repository and keep it together, or into your documentation, in my case, I just keep everything together. Though it can become a bit messy or a bit bulky in the Git repo, in the Git repository, it can take more time for someone to actually, um, what do you say, clone this repository when it comes to Git. But it's okay. But if you don't want it to be bigger, then you can actually rather put it separately in a documentation of sorts. But I think it's important to have a story, a journal of sorts, where you write down what happened on a daily basis, on a hourly basis, or whatever it is, every commit, and how did you go about researching and whatnot. Usually, this information is present in documentation and in project planning and whatnot. But I mean, for example, to do and features and whatnot can come under project planning and product documentation and whatnot. But in this case, I just put it all together. This is a very simple way, but as the software gets more complex, I think this gets harder. So, just a moment. So, the thing to note is this, right? The idea is you capture more and more information about your software so that it's easier for you to get back to working on it. So, this has been dormant for quite some time now, for around 4 years now. So now, if I want to get back on this, I will probably go ahead and look at the demos that I have. For example, this is a demo, one of the demos in my channel, YouTube channel that I have, and this is another. Like there are a few more demos that I have, and as you can see, a demo one, demo two, and how there's a mishap and whatnot, right? So, and there's a lot of information about the project itself, how I created the project, inspiration, where it can be applied, and whatnot. So, more information and like all these stories help with things. So, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say that this is a good idea to go ahead and always whenever you create a project, try to write down why you created the project, what was the motivation, what was the inspiration, what motivated you to do it, so that you can actually uh, capture that information for the future self, and for anyone looking at things, your projects, to understand why was this even created, right? A lot of times I create a repository, empty repository, with just a readme, and just the readme just has the name of the software. It doesn't make sense at all. So it's important to write down from the start of why did you create this repository, what is going to happen, what is the plan at least, even if it doesn't happen in the future, maybe you can actually look at this and be like, oh, I had a plan for doing this, and for what, because of my interest or whatever it is, then like be like, okay, I want to just continue this now, and or provide this as a idea and inspiration for someone else to create an interesting project, a demo project, or a a dummy project, or a portfolio project, or a project to just learn, right? A learning project. So just to actually practice and stuff, right? So yeah, I mean, I would say capture more and more details about whatever software you create, so that um, you can come back to that software, come back to that code, and understand how you resume. And it also creates, you know, like what do you say, a document of sorts, or yeah, a document of sorts to actually show that you created this and why you created the story around it, and not just like the end result, but the process, the journey is actually captured in a journal or a documentation, or in this case, a story.md, to understand the story behind the process of creating the software, which is pretty beautiful usually and pretty complex. So I would recommend more and more people to try this out to understand how you can do this and implement this also when you build software. So that's all I had for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.